Hello and welcome to the Old Garage number 38. I'm Wild Bill and got a couple questions. I've got some Stumpzilla silliness and I've got a historical shout out, so let's get on with it. Now, first question comes from the episode on the first Grand Prix, the last special, well, number 27. And it was from 20 Chalks a Day, and here's the statement he made. First, it was the road that won it regarding, the road. It says, or at least it did for many of the cars after the time. I wonder if there were people there planning faster tire changes like you see in the F1 pits nowadays. Well, actually, yes, there were. Here's the thing, is that, the roads were a problem at the turn of the 20th century. In fact, they still are. Out where I live, I'm in Northeast Ohio, and you can go here in West Pennsylvania and other places where you have communities that are made up pretty much of Amish. And so you still have horseshoe nails on those roads, and not all of them are paved with asphalt. Some of them are just crushed gravel. And so, you're wise to get, tires with the extended warranty, if you have to drive through areas like that. But fast tire changes absolutely were being done. At the same time, turn of the 20th century, you already had knockoff hubs that were being made. Which you've seen, like the hubs on the wheel with the 3 spokes on them, and you take a rubber mallet or a brass mallet and you can just bam and spin it off and swap your tires. That was done very early on. And also a lot of different techniques were tried to get the horseshoe nails off the road. Just spraying the tar wasn't the only method that was tried. They did everything from sweeping to having big magnets running across the road, to try to get them off of there. They tried a lot of different stuff to deal with it. Ultimately, the answer was, to pave, specifically asphalt pave the track. And once that started getting done, the whole problem of tires just exploding because of the nails started to be reduced, and made the whole process of auto racing a whole lot easier on the tires. But it really wasn't until the 1930s really that the whole problem of horseshoe nails in the roads around the world started to be alleviated, as horses were replaced by cars. So yeah. They definitely, did fast tire changes. But also keep in mind that many of these races were point to point and weren't necessarily on a circuit, so you wouldn't have a pit. Rather you had a mechanic that rode with you who would be swapping the tires with whatever was available on the vehicle. But still, the principle's still there. Do it fast, get it done, get rolling. So yeah, the concept is about as old as racing itself. Okay, next question I had is from the Old Garage. This is from James MacArthur. And he asked this one. He says, so, I cannot leave this topic alone, of aftermarket stuff on cars. You called out Ford as one of the vehicles most modified. How did Ford feel about this? Did they start producing their own OEM equipment available for purchase from the factory? Aftermarket mods today are a multi-billion-dollar industry. Did the car makers in the vintage era jump on board in this industry? Well, I will say that this is actually, in this question, is probably a good 3 or 4 episodes. Okay, so that will happen over the next year or so. So I won't get into too much detail. First of all, the Model T was one of the first cars that was heavily modified by aftermarket manufacturers. And how did Ford himself feel about this? Old Henry? Henry was not on board with it. He just wanted to build the platform and let anybody else dicker with it however they wanted to. He didn't really get into it. He eventually did relent on a few things, especially modifications that turned out to be extraordinarily popular, and everybody was doing them anyway. The electric starters, the Rocky Mountain brakes, the Ruxtal, extra transmission. That sort of thing. Eventually was offered at the dealership and by the factory after World War One. But no, Henry Ford himself, no, he just figured to let everybody else do it and not do it on his own. And then, aftermarket, modifications. I mean, there's, it wasn't just Ford. I mean, there were different types of aftermarket products that you could get that would go on any car. You had different lightings, portable heaters, serving trays that could be set up in the vehicle. I mean, there were a lot of different ways to modify a car that didn't have to be brand specific, but they were done. And just a little synopsis, because there's a lot in that question, and we're going to see more about that topic and those topics in the future over the next year or so. So we'll get to it. Okay. I'm looking. That was my questions. So here now is the silliness. You saw on the community page, those of you who have been, I've been doing quizzes. Kind of every morning I've been just popping out a quiz. So if you want to get quizzed, go to the community page. But I had a stump in my backyard right by where I planted the egglets, and I hate this thing. It looked like, like a vampire could fall in this thing and it would be the end. It was just almost 2 feet tall. I wanted it dead. I wanted it gone. And I got it pretty much gone, but I wanted it really gone. And so here is the actual footage of the fiery death of Stumpzilla. Well, recently on the community page, I pictorially showed a saga of destroying a stump, which turns out to be maple, that was near my new garden. So I'm getting ready for the final part of it. It's mostly gone, so I brought out a vacuum cleaner that I put on the blow side of it. And then here is my trusty soldering torch. And then here I've taken some chunks of the old stump that I just broke up, and I made a little pile here, and I'm going to apply some fire to it and get it nice and hot with the oil to get this really burned below the ground level so it'll be truly gone. So let's see how that goes. Alright, the torch is doing its job. Let's get this little thing burning here, see if we can get enough little core heat, and then we'll put some air to it. Let's see how she goes. This particular vacuum cleaner, the Rainbow, has a setting to where it'll just gently blow air, which is exactly what it's doing. Gently blowing air onto the remains of this stump. Build up that heat and burn, burn, burn. Well, Mr. Torch is no longer needed, really, so now it's just gentle breeze. Make this thing nice and hot. And burn. Listen to that hum. Well, that's a nice little cozy fire, and I've got my old Rainbow hooked up to it. Gosh, I've had that thing, what, 15 years or so? It's a E2 series machine. I mean, it was expensive in the day, but it was money well spent. It's got that setting to where it'll just lightly blow, which is what I'm having to do right now. I mean, it can put out enough air to just blow everything out of there, but now it's just a nice little cozy fire. Nice and toasty, nice and contained, gentle breeze, burning away that bastard stump. Stumpzilla has met its doom. She's cooking nicely now. I've added some more wood to it, which, by the way, is the wood, the leftover stump that I busted up last night. and using its own body parts to burn itself. I'm so sadistic. Kind of love it. Okay, all of you who were at arcades in the 80s, what's the reference? Stumpzilla is about to die. Okay, now this is fun. On the Rainbow here, you have this switch. You have this setting here, which is where it's just giving a gentle breeze. It's where it's trying to do air purification. This is where it goes full power. Now, I'm not going to let it just blow, but watch what happens here when I start putting power on this thing. Like I said, not going full power. It'll blow the whole thing apart, but that's all it takes. Ain't that beautiful? This thing does sound kind of cool when it revs up. Let's do it some more. I better stop before I start getting other things on fire. Okay, we're almost done here, so let's do a couple of glory shots here. All right. All right, show me what you got. And so, the stump is gone. Like it never happened. Yep. We are now stumpless. And the plants formerly known as egglets, well, I still call them egglets, are happy. Cool. And as you can see, what we have now is nice, smooth ground, suitable for lawn if I had something beside clover growing, and no more stump. Stumpzilla, no more. Okay, that's a silliness. Now we do have a cool shout out. Now there is a channel. I like history stuff. I mean, if you're watching this, you like history things. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. This guy's got a really cool channel. Go check it out. It is One Mike History. Now, he focuses on the history of black culture in America and elsewhere, and really tackles some very interesting and, if not controversial, topics. And he does it very well, very scholarly. His episodes are well researched, and he presents them very well. And you know, I dig his channel. I think he's doing a great job. And I think if you like history stuff, check it out. And you know, link in the description below. Go check him out. Like it and subscribe it. You know, you all know the routine. So anywho, that is what we have for the old garage number 38, and I will see you next time. Peace.